All right, let's see here. And then I press the jump button. Let's go. All the way to Jeddah. After that, we just have to go to the right station. And we press the dock button on that one. And I'm gonna unload these 100,000 Tritanium NFTs. I'm gonna sell them at $10 a pop, and we're just gonna be rolling in the cash. Just need to find enough suckers. Well, this is Jeddah after all. Oh, hey there guys. Never mind that, just, you know, preparing for early retirement thanks to NFTs. Let's keep going. No, alright, obviously guys, I'm joking a little bit here, but I do want to discuss the NFT craze that's happening at the moment, the whole discussion that's taken place, especially on the subreddit, because of a post there that mentioned the interview from CCP Hilmar, where he mentioned NFTs as the future for EVE Online, the key for EVE Online forever, and possibly as well a way to play to earn. Obviously a concept that's you know, sort of popular for some people, definitely not for everyone. So let's head out into the office and let's start with our discussion video, because I want to take it a little bit more seriously. NFTs is not just something that's hitting EVE Online, but just gaming and maybe even the world at large is currently consumed by what I would consider to be a massive overhype of NFTs, cryptocurrencies and all that sort of stuff. And for this video I basically want to put my opinion on the record, because part of the interview also mentioned that according to CCP Hilmar, the EVE Online player base was sort of alright with the experiments that they have done with the Alliance tournament and NFTs. And while there's definitely a vocal part that's super against NFTs, we'll see how perhaps CCP came to that logic, in my opinion. So this video is going to be an opinion piece. This is really my opinion. I understand that there will be people that are absolutely raging against NFTs and others that are for NFTs and consider everyone else complete idiots who just don't understand the future. So I'll give you guys my background as well. I kind of want to try to not ruffle too many feathers with the video either. And so this is an opinion from me. And who am I? I'm just a 40-year-old gamer at this point. And I've been working in the finance industry since pretty much the start of EVE Online. So for a decent amount of time. That does make me a boomer who owns 0 NFTs, 0 cryptocurrencies. I don't have a wallet, and I have 0 interest in jumping on any of that. So that's who I am. Now, I did do a little bit of research. I watched like 3 or 4 videos on NFTs and cryptocurrencies. So I do think that sort of makes me a specialist, just like everyone else when it comes to this type of topic. Yeah, I think there are a couple of those videos. Obviously, I watched more videos than that, but there's a couple that I want to mention that will maybe give you guys a little bit of an idea as to where I'm coming from as well. I'll link those in the description below of the video if you want to check them out for yourself. But the first one that I would recommend is a video from CoffeeZilla, which was basically an interview talking about the nature of NFTs through some sort of an art experiment. It was very interesting, right? At the moment, NFTs can go for ludicrous amounts. It's considered akin to art because you're seeing all these pictures like bored apes, maybe skins, kill males and all of that stuff. But it's pretty important to note that the NFT itself almost never contains the art that is being used or as being touted as what it is you're buying. Basically, as far as I understand it, NFT is like an electronic receipt that's sitting on a blockchain, and that is either decentralized and sometimes is not, depending on like the blockchain that it's actually using. So it's not really more than a receipt for something that you presumably bought, but the item itself that I think most people will always correlate with the NFT, that's just sitting somewhere on someone's server. So you can imagine that NFTs in EVE Online will just be sitting on the EVE Online servers. The day those go offline, it's all gone and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. So I think that's really important to fully understand, or to try to understand what NFTs are. It's not always what it looks like, and that's how you can get in those hilarious situations where apparently some people paid hundreds of millions of dollars for a Dune NFT because they thought they would get the intellectual rights to the Dune IP. Completely bonkers, but apparently stuff like that can happen when the world goes crazy for something completely new. The second video that I want to mention, I would call that the careful optimist. If you're looking for someone that still sees potential in NFTs and is not someone who's just like trying to clearly grift you out of your money, it's Devin Nash who talked a little bit about NFTs and their potential. I think his case was mostly towards that play to earn model, which at the moment apparently is already kind of used in some NFT games in very poor countries, where people can get an online connection, put effort into the game, and then sell that effort basically for a couple of dollars, which in those countries can get them a very long way. And so, you know, that's an interesting aspect, right? Can it help with perhaps inequality, as it is accessible for everyone? Who knows? I think there's a lot of hurdles for something like that to happen, but if you're looking for a video that's actually trying to make the case carefully of potentially positive aspects of NFTs, it's that one. And then the third video that I want to mention is the Jimquisition, who is absolutely 100% against NFTs. His two main points, which I think are also quite correct points, are that number one, NFTs are like a huge drain of energy for something that's like virtual scarcity. All those types of things really don't make a lot of sense just from a consumption of energy and from the climate and the environment perspective. And then the second aspect is that he is considering all of this to be basically pyramid schemes that are now facilitated by greedy corporations to just get more money out of the player base. And so, you know, those are three different videos that I would personally recommend if you want to learn more about my perspective on these NFTs. All right, and then let's start. What is my opinion on NFTs? So I don't have it's a one thing type of deal, but I do think a very large part of the NFT sphere at the moment is just straight up a pyramid scheme. I think we're seeing lots of rug pulls, lots of fraud, lots of people that just lose all their money, and that's very unfortunate. But it's a big part of the NFT sphere at the moment. I think most of the rest is basically a giant bubble, a hype. I would call it akin to the tech bubble or the .com bubble of 2000. Now, I was not really aware of any of that back in those days. I was still pretty damn young in the year 2000. But there was overhyping of what the .com technology would actually bring to the future. I think that's exactly what's happening here as well. And then a tiny sliver of the NFT story, in my opinion, is more about the technology, right? Blockchain technology, which just gives a sort of a lasting ledger for certain transactions. I think there is technological potential in there. Is it worth the tens, if not hundreds of billions that are flowing into the sphere at the moment? I really don't think so. As I've said, I would consider it more akin to a receipt system, a decentralized receipt system. So I don't think so, but perhaps the technology does have potential in unexpected ways which we can't see just yet. So I'm not a complete 100% against, but I do think that 95, maybe 99% of what's happening at the moment is completely crazy. So what, in my opinion, are some of those biggest problems that we'll see when it comes to NFTs at the moment, especially NFTs in gaming? Let's just take NFTs in EVE Online as an example. CCP can come up with, I'm sure, a lot of ways to introduce NFTs into the game: cosmetics, skins, kill mails. Hell, they could make every single item in the game an NFT. In the end, it's only every item in EVE Online is going to be a unique number in their database. putting all that stuff on the blockchain is absolutely, I think, in theory possible. Again, energy-wise, efficiency-wise, not a great idea in my opinion, but it is possible. But obviously the aim then is to create an ecosystem where you can play to earn, right? As everything would go on the blockchain and could potentially be traded and interacted with through real money as well. Now, one big problem, and it already exists in ETH, it exists in gaming in general, is botting, right? You're just gonna create such a massive economic incentive for people to start to bot, to devalue everything. That is something I don't see an answer for that. It's just gonna be that much more lucrative since you can then actually legally extract money from the game. It's just gonna be completely crazy. Another thing is, in my opinion, just straight up regulation and taxes. At the moment, this whole story is pretty much under the radar. It's so niche and so new that it's under the radar of governments. But in my opinion, once NFTs play to earn type of systems do get established, it's gonna come on the radar of governments, and let's face it, gaming is in their opinion aimed at kids, so that's gonna be a big problem. Just the sheer legality of giving access to an NFT marketplace for minors is gonna be a real problem. And then, I mean, every action, in theory, is a taxable event. They're just gonna regulate that stuff into straight oblivion, in my opinion. I don't even think it's gonna ever get that far. And what was the last one? Because I did put down a couple of notes. The real problem as well, especially when it comes to games, most games, I mean, EVE Online is one of the only games where the developer says, we hope and we want EVE Online to remain forever, but, it's a very unpredictable world out there. Yeah, games have a shelf life. Eventually, people move on to other things. And this is not just for gaming NFTs, but in my opinion, for any NFT that exists at the moment and can be created, including everything for gaming, almost all of them in the end are gonna have a value of 0. And no matter how much money gets pumped into it, at some point someone is gonna be left holding the bag. He won't find anyone to sell the NFT to, and that's it. It goes to 0, which I think is just the natural life cycle of NFTs, which at the moment we haven't seen really enough just yet. It's mostly been scams and fraud and things like that. But I just can't see any other outcome for NFTs, especially when it comes to games. And as a result, you could make this counter argument. Well, isn't just all currency, all fiat currency, the exact same thing, right? It's just being printed into existence. It's faith-based, and its intrinsic value or its end value will also always be 0. Sure, I will actually concede that point, that there is a similarity there, but the big difference, in my opinion, is just one. Fiat currencies are created by a government, right? Government makes laws, has military control. You're basically forced to use that. NFTs are a choice. And number 2, of course, lifespan, right? A lot of currencies, I'm not going to say all of them, tend to last through several generations. And so at least there's people that have their whole life known full use of the currency, and so it is a little bit different in my opinion than NFTs, because honestly I think most people that have bought NFTs at this point, although you can still trade them, I think within our lifetime, within not that much time, a lot of people will be left holding the bag and will find out that their actual value is 0. So those are my big problems when it comes to NFTs that I don't immediately see an answer for. And then maybe the final opinion that I really should mention as well, of course, NFTs in general, you guys now know, I think most of it is a scam, and then a lot of it is just a hype bubble that's gonna, in my opinion, pop at some point, and maybe the technology has some potential. I still don't know about that. I don't know enough about that to make that call. But what about NFTs in EVE Online, right? And I'll be honest, I would say CCP Hilmar has my opinion on the mark there. I don't really care. Honestly, this is something that I also noticed when it comes to, for instance, the Gymquisition that was really railing against NFTs and would love to not see them in the game. I think just like with the .com bubble, you're fighting against human nature, and I think it's gonna be tried anyways. NFTs are gonna come to games. They're gonna come to a lot of games. It's gonna be an experiment. We're gonna have to go through that bubble. It's gonna have to pop before people understand that it's actually worthless and that it might have some niche uses that will come out of that. But yeah, in my opinion, you can't fight the inevitable. And so, yeah, CCP, you guys want to try NFTs in EVE Online? Well, go ahead. I'll be completely honest. I'm someone who made $18 from the real-life money auction house of Diablo 3 back in the day, and I've got 400 billion in stuff in EVE Online that I'm ready to unload on an NFT market. If that's the way you're gonna go, well, honestly, I'm willing to play the game, not as a buyer, definitely as a seller. What the hell? It might end up killing the game. I think that's definitely a risk, but it's also an interesting experiment. And if this is the direction that game is going, I'm not gonna be the one who is going to fight that direction. And then finally, there is a final thought that I do want to share with you guys as well. This is not directly about NFTs, but it's just something that I have been basically thinking about over the last couple of weeks, because it is something that I saw, like basically a sort of a quote, but it was about zero-sum thinking. And I'm still not through that. It's basically a philosophical question, I think, that's kind of interesting, and that is that basically, for innovation, in order to be able to take risks and to invent new stuff, what you have to try to get away from is that zero-sum thinking, right? Because from that perspective, sure, NFTs are a waste, and I agree with that. But if you keep drilling down into that type of zero-sum thinking, then EVE Online is a waste, right? Almost any person in the world doesn't play EVE and is going to say it's a waste. For a lot of people, gaming is a waste. For a lot of people, the military is a waste. For other people, insurance is a waste, right? That is a trap from zero-sum thinking, that you can basically find everything and anything a waste as well. And I do think that's a trap you got to be a little bit careful of, that I fall into myself quite often. I actually tend to think that way, from that's never gonna work, because in my experience, that's never gonna work, and that's it. And it's something that I'm basically mulling over, working myself on to try and see, is there a non-zero-sum logic that could perhaps open up potential to anything, not just NFTs, not just cryptocurrencies. And I think that's that sliver of maybe there is something in the technology that we're just not seeing just yet, and maybe we gotta go through this massive hype boom and then eventually bust, but that on the other side of that, something might just come out that turns out to be worthwhile, that turns out to have a big impact on the future. I don't know if that's the case. It's all about taking risks. Honestly, I'm far too conservative to jump in on any of those types of trains, to take those types of gambles. But yeah, I think we have to try and keep an open perspective, try and understand as many perspectives as possible before we make too many judgments. And yeah, for this one, as I've said, if it comes to EVE Online, I'll roll with the punches. We'll see how this experiment ends. I don't think it's gonna end well, but I'll be along for the ride without risking anything myself. That's basically my views on that. That's my opinion on NFTs. So I don't think they're the future for EVE Online. I think they are in the future of EVE Online. And yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys think about all of this stuff. I do think it's super interesting. But for now, that's it for this video. And as always, I'll see you next time.